Hey everybody, I'm Ann with Nurtured Noggins, and I am here with my daughter Megan. And Megan is she is expecting a baby really quick, and so I just wanted to pop in tonight and talk with her about what it's been like to be pregnant during a pandemic. She wasn't pregnant for the whole pandemic. The whole pregnancy.
Pregnant for the whole pandemic.
Yeah. Yes. And but anyways, I just think it leads to some really interesting thoughts and conversations around what it's like for her and what it feels like for her family to be bringing a baby in right now. And so I'm just going to ask questions, and then Megan's going to share her story. Okay, so why don't you start by just kind of telling everybody how far along you are, when you're due, all those kinds of things.
Okay. Well, I'm 39 weeks and 6 days pregnant. My due date's in 4 hours tomorrow, and it's my third pregnancy, so it's been kind of nice. I've kind of known what to expect this time around. It has been funny because the whole pregnancy, every time someone's asked when I'm due, the response has always been, "Oh, May's a perfect time to have a baby." But I haven't really been hearing that the past couple months for some reason.
March, yeah. So what's it been like? I mean, what was it? Why don't you talk just a little bit about the journey? I mean, it's kind of been a journey for everybody as everything has unfolded, but for you around your pregnancy, and how's that been? Like, what were your initial thoughts, and then how did you think it through?
I think, like most people, when it very first started unfolding, I didn't I was like, I wonder if this will still be going on by the time the baby comes.
Yeah.
May 7th, it's like 2 months from now. But then after, as the days went by and things started changing every day, I started realizing that things are definitely going to be different by the time I have the baby, and still are going to be different. And now I'm thinking, like, what will it even be like when the baby's a year old?
Right, yeah.
How many people will have ever held this baby?
Right.
So yeah, and it's definitely every week it's been a little bit different as things have changed. Like, as the hospitals changed policy, it feels like every appointment I have, there's a new piece of information.
Right, yeah. So let's talk about the hospital later, but like what are some things that you have thought through, you guys have talked about, and just your response to it? Like, what's been your birth plan thoughts, and the thoughts of when you bring the baby home after the hospital? What are some changes that you might need to make, or expectations that you have around that?
I've had like moments of lots of anxiety during the pregnancy about COVID, and moments of less anxiety.
Yeah.
Whenever in New York, when that one hospital stopped letting birthing people bring any support people, that really freaked me out, because I wasn't sure how many hospitals would follow suit. Thankfully, no hospitals have followed suit,
Yeah.
so I'm really glad that I get to bring one person.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed my plans too much, because I was only planning on having my partner be there. But I know lots of people were planning on having lots more people be there, so that's been a change. For a while, I did look into having a home birth and met with some midwives about what it would look like, if they could even take someone on at that stage in pregnancy, because I was like 36 weeks, I think, when I was interviewing with them. And normally you start that much earlier. But they did have the capacity to take me on, but they did say they've had a lot more interest, and were taking on a lot more clients. And I ultimately decided not to go with the home birth midwives, just because, well, two reasons. One, my anxiety still rides a little too high, and I still feel a little more comfortable being in a medical setting that has more equipment for emergencies and that kind of thing, even though I've had two typical labors and deliveries. And then also, it's not covered by insurance, so it just was a
Extra expense.
whole different feel for how it would impact us financially. So I decided to stick with the hospital where I had been planning on birthing at.
Yeah. How long did it take to think through that whole process?
Probably like a week or two. If I was if I was earlier in pregnancy, I probably would have thought about it more. And even now I'm like, should I have chosen to do the home birth? I still wonder. But I only had a few days to decide, really, because they wanted to know right away since I was so far along.
Right, yeah. So what are the policies around the hospital? You can only take one person. What else do they say?
Well, it is like every time I talk, there's something new. Every time I talk with my midwives, but the main thing is can only have one person there, and they're not offering nitrous oxide, which they typically offer as a pain relief, and can't birth the baby in water. And then which my first two babies were born in a bathtub, so that's kind of been a bummer because I was thinking it would go that way again. And then the hospital I'm delivering at is doing rapid screening of when you're admitted to test and see if you're positive for COVID, and it takes about 2 hours for the results to come in. And then obviously, depending on your results, they'll make a plan with you for how to respond.
Yeah. Do they test your partner as well?
They don't, not so far.
Maybe they'll change that by tomorrow.
Maybe, you never know. If the baby comes tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Well, what about after the baby comes? Will there be any things that you do differently when you bring the baby back into the house?
I mean, one big difference is I won't be introducing the baby to many people. I definitely had imagined like my neighbors coming over and friends coming over to hang out, family like planning their visits freely. It takes a lot more coordination, like even for y'all to be here. It took weeks of planning things out, so that will be different for sure.
Yeah. So we did come to help support Megan and her family in the birth of this baby. My husband and I both were tested before we left, and then we drove here, and we pretty much stayed in our car the whole time. And when we did get out, we were fully covered and using lots of sanitation afterwards and stuff. And so we feel like we're pretty good,
pretty low. You minimize your risk as much as you could.
Minimized it as much as possible, and so that's how we managed it on our end as supporting.
I'm really glad y'all came up.
Thanks.
It's been nice. It's like weird to weigh the risks of contracting this unknown virus, but also knowing there are risks to being isolated and lonely and feeling unsupported. And so I feel like that was a likely risk for me to feel pretty stressed and lonely, and it's been really nice to have y'all here. Thanks for coming.
Sure, it's been great. Little vacation. So have you started to feel any kind of labor, the onset of labor at all?
I don't know. I mean, I assume yes, because I'm like basically 40 weeks pregnant, but unlike with my other pregnancies, I've been having contractions for weeks, and so there will be a good like 5 or 6 hour stretch where they're like 6 minutes apart and then they go away. So I'm having some of those right now, but I don't want to get my hopes up and think that means the baby's coming anytime soon, but within 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, when I was packing my bags to come, I packed a cake mix and a can of frosting, and so when you're in the hospital, we'll be at home baking a birthday cake for the baby.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to. We don't even know if it's a boy or girl, and so excited to find out.
One policy change at the hospital I forgot to mention is that the support partner, if they can't leave the premise, if they leave, they can't come back. So when my husband Josh is there, he's there for good. So he might be really birthday cake by the time we get out.
Yeah, you can go get food.
Some sustenance to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking.
Yeah.
So excited about your baby. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of keep sharing with you guys the story of this new baby, and you know, we'll just take a look at him or her when they come home from the hospital and really take the opportunity to learn about a newborn firsthand. Okay, so that is all. Thank you so much, Meg.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.